project I started working on and then decided I was going to turn it into a little video, just because I know this isn't the only time. This isn't the only thing that happens to me. It happens to a lot of other people. I have one of these standalone type of lamps that you would set behind a chair, use it for a reading lamp or something behind your chair, or just set it anywhere in your living room or bedrooms or whatever. And they have this big heavy base, and then it's got the pole that holds the light at the top. Well, I know everybody knows what these are. I'll find a picture and put it up in here to show you what it looks like, but I can't get it all in this frame here. I have it tore apart too. So, but we all know that if you pick these lamps up wrong, this heavy base, it weighs a lot. So if you pick this up wrong and you tip it one way or the other, it breaks off right down here, and then you just got wires that are coming through here down into the power supply there. Well, that's pretty much junk. You might as well throw it away, because this is what happens. I'm just going to show you this part. Ignore this white part in my hand. This goes inside here, and that's supposed to be one solid piece. It's called pot metal. It's really cheap metal that is junk, and they should never use it for this kind of stuff. But this is what happens when you move that crooked. It breaks this off, and now you have two pieces instead of one. This piece here will screw out of here, and it's actually supposed to be like this. That's what the piece looks like. It's one solid piece like that, and the wires go down through there and then through the hole in the base, so you don't see no wires. Well, being that this happens all the time, I was given this light when it was gave to me. I didn't pick it up right away, but then when I went to pick it up, somehow got moved around in the person's garage and it broke. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll see if I can do something about it. Which you cannot buy these parts alone, because I've searched the internet for them. And that's one thing that they should start selling alone, because this happens so much. And then all you got to do is just take the base apart, take the wires out. It's not too bad. You just have to pay attention to the wires. I already took this apart, because like I said, I started this project. I disconnected the wires, and here's the other end of the wires right here. So you have these wires here. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 wires that connect to 4 wires in here. And I took pictures before I disconnected these, and I actually marked a couple of the wires to tell me that these 2 wires go together, this goes with this connector and stuff like this. This is the ballast that starts it, because this is a fluorescent type lamp. This particular one, and these are different. You can get just a lot of times they're incandescent lamps, just regular lights that you put in any socket. But this one happens to be this kind, so that's why it has a ballast. You won't see this ballast in a regular light setup. It'll be just a wire coming from the light through this here, and then down through the hole, and then you plug it into the wall with the cord. So I figured I'm gonna see if I can figure out some way how to fix this without throwing this out, because it would be handy sitting behind my chair for when I sit down and do some reading or whatever. So I thought about it for a couple days, and I asked around a couple, like my dad and my brother, see if they had any ideas and what we could come up with to fix this. And we finally come up with getting a piece of PVC. It's a cap that goes on the end of a piece of PVC. So if this was a piece of PVC, it's a cap. Then you glue the end, put the glue in there, so you know, it just covers the end for whatever purpose you'd use it for. So this pipe is almost 1.5 inches diameter here, and this PVC piece is considered 1.5 inches. So this actually fits right over the end, but there is slop. So I have to make up for that slop. But in the meantime, what I did was, I need to have my wires going through here so it can go through the base here. So what I did, let me get this old piece off here that's stuck on here. What I did was I drilled a hole right in the center of this cap, and then I threaded the rod that the wires, all these wires go through. I threaded the rod into this, so this is a little under 1/2 inch, so I drilled a hole even a little bit more under 1/2 inch so I could actually thread this into the plastic, so it's really tight. It ain't coming out of there. This little piece here, I used it as a nut. It actually broke off this other piece that goes along with this piece that it broke out of. So I figured I'll just use that to hold that in there nice and snug too. I mean, I don't need it, but because it was really hard to get that threaded in there, and I got it flush with this side here. So now what I'm going to do with this is I'll just drop this right in here, and that will now be the replacement for this piece here. Now, even though there's a gap in there, because this, if I held that straight, you could see this is at an angle like this. That's why there's a gap in there. This piece actually sits down inside the hole, and it sits flat. So now it's flat across. So if I put that in there now it's flat across. But I'm not going to do that because it all depends on how much room you have on this side to put a nut on. And it actually looks like I got enough room. I could actually do that and leave that flat part on there. But if I don't put this on there and I put that in there, it sits on this side here, but it doesn't touch on this side here. But there's no, once I get that nut on here, the washer and nut on this side, this is not going to move at all. So it doesn't matter which way you do it. Either way will be fine. And if it comes to the point to where either way won't work, you could always search for a longer one of these and then thread it in there. So, but if you do it right, that should work. I mean, it worked for me. It's working for me on this one. So I got that in there. But now when I stick this in here, I got all kinds of slop, and my light's gonna be flinging all over the place. Okay, so I got to do something about that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3D print a spacer that's going to go down. It's going to go over this, and it's going to go down inside here to make up for all that slop that I got. So this will slide down there nice and tight, and it'll be nice and sturdy. So I need to measure the outside of this, and I need to measure the inside of this to figure out the size that it needs to be. So that's what I'm going to do, and we'll see how that works afterwards. Just to give you an idea what I did this in, this is a free software called Blender, and this is the cylinder right here that we're going to print. It looks like a straight cylinder, straight up and down, but it's actually has a taper on the outside edge of it. On the very outside, it's wider at the top, and then it goes smaller at the bottom. The inside diameter is straight from top to bottom though, because that wraps around the pipe. But the PVC piece has a small taper on the inside, so that's what I had to do to the outside of this, so it kind of sits in there, hopefully sits in there better. This is what it looks like in the Cura software. I used an old version, 14.07. It's been working fine for what I do, but this is the cylinder again. Shows it like it's actually sitting on the table, with this being the 00 over here. And then you can see each layer it's going to print. If I bring this down like this, you can see each one of those is a layer, builds on top of each other until it gets all the way to the top and it's finished. And that took, over here in this corner, it tells you that it took 31 minutes. It'll take about 31 minutes to print on the 3D printer. Here I'm printing the spacer that I showed you that I needed. So it comes in handy to have a 3D printer for projects like this, I guess. Alright, that's it. I hope it works. So I decided I'm going to put that piece in there just to see how it works, because I did have enough threads, and with that piece in there, it makes this piece sit flat. So if there is any torque with this thing moving like this, for some reason, there shouldn't be, except for when you move it maybe a little bit. This way it's less likely to break anything, which it shouldn't break anything anyway, because this PVC is pretty strong and it's pretty thick. So here's my piece my little collar that I 3D printed, and I put a little black dot on there just to tell me that this side is the bigger side, and this side here is the smaller one, because it's at a, remember I said it's at a taper, so it's smaller on the bottom than it is on top. But the center of this is the exact same size all the way through, because that's going to slide over this pipe. I haven't tried it yet, but what I did was I sanded. I took a file around the edge, along the outside and on the inside, to get any little imperfections out of there. So hopefully this will be easier to slide over this. And I don't remember which way was which on this, but it shouldn't matter. But when I measured it with a caliper, when I spun it around with the caliper, there was one high spot that read a little bit bigger than all the rest of it. And now, since I've been handling it and everything, I don't know which side was which, so we'll just try it on either side. This might take some persuasion to get this on here. I haven't put it on yet. Hopefully it doesn't break. I probably could get a little bit of maybe a little bit of grease or something, a little drop of oil or something in here to help it slide over this. Let me do that and I'll come right back. Alright, so I just got any kind of oil. It doesn't matter. This is just like machine oil, air tool type oil. It doesn't matter. I'm going to put a little bit on the rag here, and then just wipe it on the inside. Maybe I'll put it on my finger. I just don't want to get it all over the place. Hopefully this helps. If not, I guess it'll just be tough. And then we'll probably have to do the same thing here, because that slides in there pretty good. Now this won't go all the way down to the bottom because the inside of this is also tapered. It's bigger on the top than it is on the bottom. I couldn't get my calipers to reach all the way to the bottom, so I guessed at the figure that the bottom would be. I just took off 20 thousandths or something like that from the top to the bottom, and hopefully this will slide. If it don't slide all the way down, that's as far as it'll go, so it's even. If it doesn't slide all the way down there like that, it's no big deal. It's still enough to take up the slack, the slop in there, so our pipe won't wiggle all around. Alright, let's see. Let's see what we got here. Well, it's almost there. You can see it's almost down. I don't really have to force it, but I'm gonna. Alright, that's all the way down to the bottom. So that's a nice tight fit on there. So we shouldn't have no play at all. Now I'm gonna add some of that oil to the outside edge of that, because that seemed like it worked out pretty good. And like I said, you don't have to use a lot. Now, before I forget, and I definitely don't want to forget, I need to feed this wire down through here, because once I push this into there, I don't want to have to take it back off again. So, and it doesn't matter, like I said, it doesn't, I didn't say it, but I'll show you. It doesn't matter what end I put that on, because the inside has threads on both sides. So the bigger portion here will screw into either side, so it doesn't matter there. So let's feed this down here. Alright, we got it coming out the end now. Hopefully we don't fall off the table at the other end down here. Bend that down. That's what's nice about this lamp here. This end is flexible. Wherever you move it, it stays. So it's a really bright light too, so I like it. That's why I kind of wanted to get this going. So now we're going to stick these wires down through the hole in the center of that. And there, I didn't show you, but there is little plastic sleeves that go inside that threaded rod on both ends. So when you stick the wires in there, your wires don't get cut from the top of the threaded rod. So make sure you don't lose those. Alright, I don't know if I'll be able to stick them all through that at the same time. Looks like it. Alright. Now, this is going to be the tricky part. Try to keep that like this while we stick this in there. So I showed you that went in there a little bit, but it didn't go all the way. Now that's stuck in there, and it's pretty snug, but I'm going to tap this down just a little bit more to make it a little bit snugger. And of course I don't have a hammer right here with me, so let's see what we can use. Let's see. I got this rag here, and I'm going to use a crescent wrench that, you know, the wrong way. It's my own tool, so you can do whatever you want with your own tools, right? Alright, so I'm going to pound this in there a little bit. And like I said, don't even have to go in all the way. As long as it just takes up all that slack, we're good to go. And that feels really nice. Definitely feels really good. So I'm going to go ahead and put the rest of this back together, and then hopefully we'll be able to, I'll put this somewhere where I can get it all in one view of the camera and show you that that it should work pretty good. I don't think anything is going to break when I'm maneuvering it around or anything, but I think I'll attach these wires before I put these next two pieces together, because I have to screw them in together. So this is, the base here is going to be twirling around like this until it gets tightened up in there. But so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do the wires first, and then I'll screw this together, and then we'll give it a try afterwards. Well, here's the finished product. I have to hold the camera with my hand to show you the whole thing, but you've seen that when I crammed it in there. I had to be careful. I accidentally, when I tapped that in there, I wasn't paying too much attention to this connection right here. Remember I told you I put a rag over it and I tapped it with the wrench. Well, I accidentally bent the edge a little bit, so the threads got kind of messed up, but I was able to get it to thread in there all right though. So that's the light right there, all put together as one piece, and that'll sit behind my chair so I can use it for a reading light. And we got the switch right here, and there she be, good as new. Alright, I guess we'll see you on the next one.